Good afternoon. The SIU is investigating after a man was sent to a trauma center following an interaction with police in Vaughan.
Police were called to conduct a welfare check just after 10 p.m., which then led to a motorcycle crash. CTV's Janice Golding has been following the investigation and joins us live with more. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. Yes, York Regional Police are guarding a home here on Postal Crescent in Vaughan after an accident sent a man to hospital with serious injuries overnight. Now, officers were called to the scene just after 10 p.m. to do a check welfare call. Police say upon arrival, investigators saw a man on a motorcycle. An officer activated the lights on his cruiser. The motorcyclist fled. Less than a block away, however, the man would crash. The 42-year-old motorcyclist sustained serious injuries and was transported to a trauma center in Toronto. The K9 unit was brought to the scene to help search for evidence. Given this was a police-involved accident, the SIU has invoked its mandate. It has assigned 3 investigators and 2 forensic investigators to the case.
Surprise, but I don't sure what happened, really.
It's scary. In our neighborhood, it's scary.
It's very scary, like when you see like so much police and ambulance and everything, and somebody is like lie down on the street, so it's very scary.
No officers were injured. Anyone with any information is asked to contact the Special Investigations Unit. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. The lawyer for Kenneth Law says murder charges will be withdrawn against his client, who will in turn plead guilty to aiding suicide. Law is accused of selling lethal substances online to people who later used it to take their own lives. His trial was rescheduled numerous times as the Crown and defense awaited a Supreme Court decision. Police allege Law ran several websites that were used to sell sodium nitrite and other items which can be used for self-harm, including shipping them to people in more than 40 countries.
2 vehicles were set on fire in Brampton this morning. Emergency crews called to the area of Heritage Road and Lionhead Golf Club Road shortly before 12:30 for reports of 2 vehicles on fire. The fires were quickly put out. No injuries reported. Police are treating this incident as suspicious, but say it remains too early to determine a cause or a motive here. They're asking anyone who might have information to come forward.
In Etobicoke, a car collided with a tree and ended up on the lawn of a home. Now, it happened just before 2 in the morning near Kipling and the West Way. The car struck a tree and ended up on the lawn of a home. 2 people were taken to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The cause of the crash is under investigation. Well, the squeeze at the pumps is easing a little bit. Gas prices drop by more than 10 cents at most GTA gas stations.
The drop comes as the temporary suspension of the federal fuel excise tax on gas and diesel takes effect. CTV's Aliison Hurst has been speaking with drivers about the drop and joins us live now with their reaction. Aliison.
Drivers are certainly excited to see the prices going in this direction for once, but they do remain skeptical that it's going to hold. Gas prices are down roughly 10 cents since yesterday following the federal government's move to suspend the fuel excise tax for the summer. This comes as market upheaval due to the war in Iran, which has seen gas prices soar well over $1.80 per liter. As of this morning, the price across the GTHA was sitting around $1.64.
Well, that's a good idea. Every bit helps, It's a big relief for us, because everything's going up, and we hope that would help.
10 cents off. How much liters? That's going to save you, what, like $10 a pop? That's nothing, to be honest. So, yeah, I don't think it really helps that much.
I feel it every time, because I don't know the frustration of the gasoline. Sometime next week, whatever, I don't know. See, that's why it's better for me to fill this up.
And since we've been here just in the last few hours, we've actually seen the price go down a little bit more. We're now sitting at this ESSO at 161.9. Reporting live, I'm Aliison Hurst. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Aliison. Still to come, the latest on the situation on the ground in the Middle East. Iran says it has no plans to participate in more peace talks with the U.S. and Pakistan. We'll have those details a little later in the newscast.
But first, a car crashed into a transit pole at the Emery LRT station. Emergency crews were called to the Finch and Weston Road area just after 11:15 last night. Police say the vehicle hit a transit signal pole. The cause of the crash is still being investigated. Nobody was hurt.
Metrolinx has announced enhanced transit safety measures. Metrolinx says a body-worn camera program is being introduced for special constables and other frontline staff. There will also be an increased presence of police officers at Union Station. The transit agency says these moves are being made ahead of the busy summer travel season, which includes concerts in the city and major sporting events like the FIFA World Cup.
The trend lines on violent incidents, even from 2022 to the present, are moving in the right way, going down significantly. But look, I think we can be honest and forthright and candid with one another, particularly at Union Station. If you live and work there, as I do, you certainly have seen a growing number of particularly, unfortunately, the unhoused and the homeless community, that have called that station home. We want to connect those people to the right social services, but we also want to make sure that whether people are commuting or they're coming downtown for the purposes of entertainment, going to a Jays game or a Leafs game, that the right resources are on hand to ensure public safety.
Metrolinx says it is also hiring and training more officers to strengthen the frontline presence across the transit system.
A water main break has created a mess in Etobicoke, impacting traffic in the area.
The colder than normal temperatures are also hampering the cleanup effort. CTV's John Musselman has been following this story. He joins us live now with more. John.
Well, Michelle, we can tell you that the cleanup has gone very well here. A lot of it has already been taken care of. The water is gone from the roadway, but we'll show you some video from 4 o'clock this morning. It was quite a scene here, water shooting about 10 feet up in the air when this water main break happened on Nelson Drive and Dundas Street West. That's just west of the West Mall. So emergency crews responded here and city crews as well. There's water main replacement going on this street. So this was part of an old water line that's being repaired when the break happened. So they're hoping to have this all back online by the end of the day. One building here has been affected with no water, but city officials say hopefully they'll have that restored by this afternoon or possibly by the end of today. Again, most of the area of the roadway here has been cleaned up. There was no icing over. There was a salter truck brought here because of the temperatures, but the situation seems to be under control. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
John, the TTC says streetcars are expected to be back in service along St. Clair this afternoon, 5 days after a water main break. Shuttle buses have been running along the 7-kilometer stretch between Guns Loop at St. Clair West and St. Clair Station since Wednesday night. The TTC says service is due to be restored by 4 p.m. And there are a pair of temporary streetcar route changes to be aware of this week. The 510 and 310 Spadina streetcars will divert via College and Bathurst to Bathurst Station, while replacement buses will operate between Spadina Station and south of College. That service change is due to streetcar infrastructure work and will be in place from 11 p.m. until 4 a.m. tomorrow through Thursday. The 511 Bathurst route will divert both ways via College, Spadina and King from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. tomorrow through Sunday due to rapid TO road work. Replacement buses will operate between Bathurst Station and Exhibition Loop. Well, the Raptors will be looking to bounce back in Game 2 of their playoff series with the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight.
The team lost Game 1 on Saturday in their return to the postseason for the first time in 4 years. CTV's Raheem Ladani has been speaking with Raptor fans and joins us with more. Not the best start, Raheem, but it's just one game.
Hey, Nathan. Yeah, that's right. Down but not out, right? Game 1 is typically known as a feel-out game. You feel out where you stack up against your opponent, and then you make adjustments. Well, Raptors head coach Darko Rajakovic, he said that he had a lot of long conversations with his players over the weekend and talked about not just X's and O's, but also the need to increase their determination. Let's keep in mind that this Raptors team have not played together in the postseason before, so they're an inexperienced team, and that inexperience showed. In terms of what needs to improve in Game 2 on the court, there are 3 areas that the Raptors have been talking a lot about. Number 1, get Brandon Ingram the ball. They need to find a way to get him to create basketball chances to put the ball in the hoop. Number 2, lock down defense on defense. They need to shut down Donovan Mitchell better. Number 3, transition defense. If you turn the ball over or don't get a rebound, they need to get back so that the Cavaliers can make easy buckets. This is what needs to be done in Game 2 for the Raptors to have success. Scotty Barnes spoke this morning about what he thinks the team needs to do. I want you to have a listen to what he's saying, as well as some fans that we've been chatting with.
Just be more active, be more physical. We know it's the playoffs, those guys, they're going to draw some fouls, but just try to be as physical as we can.
Feel confident. Usually I think we can take one in Cleveland. You know, they had a bad game, but, you know, I think we got this one.
I believe in us. I think we're going to do it tonight. I think we're going to get it done. B.I., Jamal Shed.
They just got to gut it out, you know, like everyone's kind of putting them off, right? So you just got to play your game, and you've got to the spot you're in for a reason, you know.
So let's quickly talk about Jurassic Park. Obviously very quiet right now. Crews are still setting up for the big party tonight, but it's going to be rocking. There are games set up in front of me here. There's going to be a lot of food activities, live music. It's going to be a fun atmosphere. However, this year, what's different compared to last year is this is a ticketed event. It is not costing you anything, but you had to enter into a draw. You can't just show up and hope to get in. The draw is now closed, and those who have entered this random draw will find out at 1 o'clock this afternoon if they have access to watch Game 2 here on the big screen. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. I'll send it back to you both in studio.
All right, thanks, Raheem. We got more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. Some clouds. It is chilly out there. It might look okay, but if you do have plans on heading to Jurassic Park, I suggest you dress warmly, because if you're just standing in one spot for several hours, it can suddenly feel really cold. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison for a look at the current conditions. Hey, Lindsay.
Yeah, Nathan, I know a thing or two about that. Standing in one spot, suddenly feeling cold, and it is indeed a cold day today, especially now that we are nearing the end of the month of April, and I've still got a winter jacket on, but I'm repping the Raps here. As Raheem mentioned, this place is going to be packed a little bit later today as it becomes Jurassic Park, which we love for the Raptors playoff games. You know, when it came to Game 1 on Saturday, it was a very different weather type of story. It was much milder. Yes, we had rain at times, so people who were down here needed to pack their ponchos. Fortunately, not too much in the way of thunderstorm activity, but today it's a different story altogether. You need the parka instead of the poncho. Let's take a look at our current temperatures, and yeah, it's chilly out here. There is a wind chill. It feels like -2, even though the temperature right now is 2 degrees on the plus side. As far as any active weather is concerned, well, we once again have some scattered flurries, mainly to our west and to the southwest of here. Winds are coming out of the northwest, so that's why it feels so chilly. Don't forget the gloves or the hat if you're going to be heading down here. This is today at a glance. If we're lucky, we'll make it to a daytime high of +5, but it is going to be another cold night tonight. So we'll take a look at your tip-off forecast coming up. Let's go Raptors, and of course, lots more to come with your weather forecast this week. It's all ahead. For now, I'll send it back inside to you.
Well, thank you, Lindsay. And spring flooding certainly has been an issue. Jill Dunlop, Ontario's Minister of Emergency Preparedness and Response, spoke to reporters today as municipalities across the province continue to endure the rain and the melt.
We deployed Ontario Corps last week, so groups like Global Medic have been there with a sandbagging machine. The search and rescue have been there doing wellness checks. They've set up an evacuation center. We've deployed sandbagging machines, sandbags, and also the volunteers. So, you know, we're working directly with those community on what their needs are, and we'll continue to do so in all of the impacted areas.
A warning is in place in Huntsville due to flooding in that region. Ontario's Ministry of Natural Resources says a flood warning will remain in effect through Wednesday. Residents are advised to be cautious when traveling, stay clear of flooded areas, and obey all signage. Officials say properties in flooded areas using well water should assume the water is not safe to drink. And Minden Hills is also under a state of emergency due to severe flooding. The township says people have filled and picked up more than 25,000 sandbags since the spring flooding began.
Premier Doug Ford is speaking to the media in Ottawa today, where he's meeting several of his provincial counterparts. Let's listen in.
That is scrutinized more than I am. I'm willing to take that. What kind of really disturbs me is the inconsistency with the media. We have the federal government, rightfully so, and let's put the Prime Minister to the side, that they went out and bought $753 million of jets for the ministers, rightfully so, by the way. We live in a massive country. No word. When it comes to the Quebec, buying $107 million of 3 jets, which I agree. They live in a massive province. No scrutiny. But when I do it, I guess there's a double standard, and that's my position. I have to take that. But I just want to explain to the people, you know, our province is massive. I have to get to the north numerous times. There are no charter flights up in the north. And speaking of charter flights, no premier in the history of this province. When I took office, I sold the 2 planes. I think people didn't think that premiers had planes. They've had planes ever since the inception of premiers flying on the plane. I flew charter for 6 years. And no premier's ever done that. And I don't begrudge anyone. I don't begrudge the ministers. They need it, right? Federal ministers. Quebec needs it. Former premiers need it. I chose not to do that and flew charter. Now what's happening, charter, they're canceling stops in pretty well majority of all northern jurisdictions, or they'll have 1 flight going into Thunder Bay or 1 flight maybe into Sudbury. I hear they're canceling the Sudbury side, one of the airlines. So I got to find another mode of transportation. And, that's what it comes down to. I'll give you an example. Why? Well, it's always the why. Why did I do it? This was not Doug Ford's plane. I'm going to repeat that. It was not Doug Ford's plane. It was a government plane used by multiple ministries. I'll give you one example, Ontario Corps. If we need to send a team up north where no charter flights are, no commercial flights are, we charter a flight. We charter a flight for firefighters going up to fight wildfires. And I thought if it's a multi-ministerial plane for the province, not my personal plane that the media wants to paint it out to be, which was never the case. Yes, am I going to use it? 100%. But it was for multiple ministries that could use it. And I'll give you one example of, we had to get down to Texas because we're fighting the tariffs. There's no one been louder in the whole world against President Trump than what I've been. But we have to diversify our trade all around the world. But we also have to continue communicating with our largest customer in the world, and that's the United States. I flew down into Texas. I had 13 appointments in 2 days and 1 morning in 3 cities. I went to Austin. It's all on media. I went to Austin. I went to Dallas. I went to Houston. We brought back, and I'm being super conservative, over $6 billion of investments here in Ontario, thousands and thousands of jobs. You can get on the phone, you can get on a Zoom call. Nothing is better than sitting across the table from your customer, meaning our customer, saying, come to Ontario, and telling them all the great things about the quality of the people here in Ontario. That's part of a premier's job. People don't realize how large Ontario is unless you've flown it. And flown it many times from north, south, east, west. It's twice the size of Texas. It's larger than France and Spain combined. So I have to do my job, and I'm going to continue doing it the way I always do. I'm going to continue working 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, like any other premier does, and continue serving the people. I understand their concerns. I understand the cost of fuel is going up. I understand groceries are going up. I understand everything is going up, and it's costly. And I do appreciate the calls that I received saying this is not the time right now. I also appreciate the calls that said, yes, this is justified. So we aren't doing it. We're moving forward. We're going to continue growing the economy. And I'm going to continue visiting everyone in the north that relies on me showing up to announce a long-term care, a hospital, a new company that's going up in the north. It's part of the job. So that's the other side of the story. And one last thing, because it's all around cost and money, right? Everyone's talking about the money. And I've saved millions by not flying the King Air and so on and so forth. I'm the only, and I never brought this up, but since I'm getting hammered about the money, I'm the only premier or MPP for their MPP expenses, which I don't begrudge. Everyone needs to have expenses. I have expensed zero. Think of that. Zero for 8 years. I pay for it out of my own pocket, and I don't begrudge any MPPs. I'm just saying, if you're talking, nickels and dimes and dollars and hundreds and thousands of dollars, I pay out of my own pocket. And I've never promoted that. But since it's all about dollars and cents, I have to tell the people of Ontario that's what's happening. I'll always be frugal. I'll always respect the taxpayers' money, and I'll always listen and never be too shy. Like a lot of politicians, they dig their heels in. I think I've proven over and over and over again, if I hear from the people they don't like it, I change my mind. So that's where we're at, folks. I'll take any questions.
Was there any reason that you didn't go out and sort of make the case for this plane? You just made the last few moments.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I told my team 100% I should have been out there and made the case and given the why. So yes, that was what I should have, and I didn't. It was on a Friday. We took possession. I can't remember, Wednesday or Thursday. We put the story out there, and I should have done it. So you're 100% right, and that's why I'm here today, to tell the other side of the story. Next question.
You pride yourself in your political career on being able to read public opinion.
That's right.
But to this whole scenario, how it went wrong, how did it go wrong? Who made the idea? Who had the idea to buy the plane and then not do the business case for it?
So at the end of the day, folks, everything falls on my shoulders. I take full responsibility. But again, when we're under scrutiny, and I'm under scrutiny more than the Prime Minister, more than any Premier in the entire country. When you see the federal government go out, and the inconsistencies from the media is just mind-boggling to me, which I agree with them buying a fleet of planes for the ministers, because they have to travel. I'm in favor of it. But spending $753 million compared to the $29 million, folks, Ontario is the 20th largest GDP economy in the world. I'm going to repeat that. 20th largest GDP in the world. I have to get around. I have to go to the U.S. more. I have to head to Utah to meet the governors. I have to head to South Carolina to meet the southeastern governors. It's part of the job. And then, again, Quebec, they need jets. They bought 3 jets. And it makes life so much easier. If I didn't charter a plane, which the media was there and I was transparent, I wouldn't have been able to gather over $6 billion of investment from Texas, visit 3 cities, 13 appointments in 2.1 days.
So this wasn't a mistake, is what you're saying?
Well, you listen to the people.
All right, the Premier is in Ottawa meeting with his provincial counterparts, and he's answering questions about that $29 million private jet that he purchased that's under scrutiny. And he's explaining his rationale. He says, look, federal ministers have private jets. The province of Quebec does. He does fly charter, but some of the destinations have been reduced, so he can't get there. But either way, he plans on selling this private jet because of the feedback he says he got from the public. He also says it wasn't a personal plane, but for multiple ministries. And as an MPP, he's expensed nothing in the past 8 years. But either way, even though he's explaining himself, he's not going to keep this private jet. He's going to sell it. All right, we're going to keep on following this story. We'll give you updates at 5 and, of course, CTV News at 6. To other news now, Canada's inflation rate rose to 2.4% in March because of rising fuel prices triggered by the war in the Middle East. Stats Canada says the consumer price index increased 2.4% year over year last month, and that's up 1.8% in February. Gas prices surged by 21.2% on a monthly basis in March, and that's the largest increase on record, according to Stats Canada. Prices for food also rose by 4.4% on a year-over-year basis, with the cost of fresh vegetables rising by 7.8%. Prime Minister Mark Carney delivered a pre-recorded address to the nation this weekend, something he says will be happening more regularly.
He referred to Canada's relationship with the U.S. as a weakness amid the ongoing trade war. CTV's Graham Richardson has more on the Prime Minister's messaging.
It's a direct address to Canadians shot at a home in suburban Ottawa, with Mark Carney spending a lot of time on how the United States has turned away from free trade and what that means for Canada.
Many of our former strengths, based on our close ties to America, have become our weaknesses, weaknesses that we must correct. The U.S. has changed, and we must respond.
Pictures of his China and India trips front and center, suggestions that conservatives are too optimistic about changes in America.
There are some who say there's no need for a comprehensive plan. They believe we should wait it out in the hope that the United States will return to normal, that the good old days will come back.
Conservatives dismissed all of this as more of the same.
A family filling up a grocery cart in Saskatoon doesn't need Mark Carney's economic philosophy. They need the bill at the checkout to stop going up.
Carney talks about history here, too, and how Canadians have beat back American aggression before. Featuring a small statue of Isaac Brock, he says he keeps in his office a gift from Mike Myers.
Brock was a hero who fought and gave his life for our forebears in the War of 1812.
This address was not designed for a soft, comforting message.
There was an effort to offer people reassurance in this message, but much of it was stark. Much of it was meant to drive home how severe the challenge that we are confronting truly is.
This all comes at a tense time for Canada-U.S. relations. The Americans are moving forward with formal free trade talks with Mexico. That hasn't happened for Canada yet. And if this address was designed to land with Canadians, the government will be watching very closely to see how it lands with Donald Trump. Graham Richardson, CTV News, Ottawa.
Turning to the war in the Middle East, Iran says it has no plans yet to attend any talks with the United States aimed at extending the ceasefire, which is set to expire on Wednesday. Iran's foreign minister says Tehran has no plans for the next round of negotiations currently. The country's joint military command calls the seizure of an Iranian vessel in the Arabian Sea by the U.S. on Sunday an act of piracy. It went on to say Iran will respond soon. Over the weekend, U.S. President Donald Trump indicated a delegation including Vice President J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner would be heading to Pakistan for a second round of talks between the U.S. and Iran. Those talks have yet to be formally scheduled. Meanwhile, shipping traffic remains at a virtual standstill in the Strait of Hormuz. The latest ship tracking data shows just 3 crossings through the strait in the span of 12 hours.
Meanwhile, the Israeli military is warning residents displaced by fighting in southern Lebanon not to return to their homes yet. Speaking in Arabic, an Israeli military spokesperson warned its forces remain deployed in southern Lebanon during the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. It's the result of what Israel describes as continued activity by the Hezbollah militant group.
The trial of a retired RCMP officer accused of foreign interference and acting as an agent for China is set to begin after nearly 3 years of waiting. William Miker is accused of using his decades of experience as a former undercover operator with the Mounties to help China pursue people and assets who have fled the country. The case against him began when CSIS tipped off the RCMP about Miker's alleged activities. He was arrested during a 2023 trip to Vancouver and accused of using his knowledge and contacts in Canada to help China identify and intimidate someone in Canada. None of the allegations has been tested in court. Lindsay.
Well, it's nice to be enjoying a mix of sun and cloud out here in downtown Toronto, but once again, it is cold. No flurries this hour here in the city. It's not the case everywhere, though. And if you are planning to come down to Jurassic Park to cheer on the Raptors tonight, here's a look at the forecast conditions that we're expecting around game time. It is a little chilly, 3 degrees by about the time the game is starting, but it won't be long before we are near freezing temperature-wise and feeling much colder than that once you take the winds into consideration. Now, there is a warm-up coming this week. We will be back to seasonal in a couple of days. And as far as active weather is concerned, this is a much drier week compared to last week, which is certainly going to help the flood situation across our province. We'll take a detailed look at your 7-day forecast coming up here on CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Well, beautiful, bright sunshine on this Monday, but boy, the temperature, yeah, you need a hat, you need mitts. It's definitely chilly, so for all those folks down at Jurassic Park, you'll definitely have to dress for it.
I would say dress extra warm because, again, when you're just standing there, even though you might be jumping up cheering, hopefully cheering quite a bit, it's still chilly out there, Lindsay.
Oh, yeah, we hope there's going to be a whole lot of cheering tonight, Nathan. But yeah, it is chilly out here. You know, it was just a few weeks ago we were covering the opening of the Blue Jays season, and it was freezing. I did not expect that now, nearing the end of April, we'd still be talking about just how chilly it is here. But the thing about Toronto sports fans is that they will be out here, rain or shine or cold. And yeah, tonight's going to be one of those chillier nights for sure. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Another big weather story we, of course, have been covering here is the spring flooding happening across our province. This is video from Minden. Again, one of the areas that has been greatly impacted by rising water levels the last little while. As you know, we had a whole lot of rain last week. Couple that with the melting snow, and volunteers have been working around the clock to do some sandbagging to prevent the flood situation from getting any worse. What I'm happy to share is the fact that we are looking at a lot less in the way of rain this week, and that is going to help. So hopefully just with time, we're going to continue to see some of these water levels go down. Let's begin, though, with the temperature part of our weather story. It is 2 degrees right now at Pearson Airport, 0 in Muskoka, and you will find temperatures below freezing still in places like Timmins and Sudbury. As we make our way through the day today, we're eyeing record highs and lows. The record low today is minus 5.4 degrees, and we are watching that because, yes, we have a below freezing start to the day, and we will have another below freezing overnight low tonight, but likely not expected to break any records, but we'll keep an eye on things. Our forecast high today is about 5 degrees. Let's see if we can get there. Of course, the average temperature this time of year is about 13, so we are well below seasonal, well below average. Here's a look at what we're expecting through the evening and then the overnight tonight. An overnight low of about minus 3 degrees is going to feel more like minus 5. At least the winds do settle down because we're noticing those breezy conditions out here right now for sure. As for tomorrow, let's take a little journey across the province and show you quite a jump in temperature in some areas into the double digits already for highs tomorrow. Still likely to be in the upper single digits around the GTA, but improvements coming. There's Minden, a little bit of flurry activity expected for you with a daytime high tomorrow of +3. Let's talk about the rainfall. Yes, it's been a soggy April. It was a very rainy March as well. We are above our monthly averages for both of these months already. And of course, there's still about 10 days to go in this month of April. But as I mentioned, it is a much drier forecast as we make our way through this week, which is great news. Forecast radar looks like this. You're going to notice some pretty dry conditions right through Tuesday. Chance of showers a little southwest of here, but GTA looks good into Wednesday. Tracking some thunderstorms that should remain south of the border. Another dry day for us with some sunshine expected too. Temperature-wise, yeah, we are back near seasonal for both Wednesday and for Thursday. Friday, temperatures in the upper teens. I'm watching Saturday for some shower activity returning, but at this point it doesn't look like a washout of a day. And Sunday, lovely mix of sun and cloud and a high of 14. That's your look at the forecast for now. Nathan and Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. The Blue Jays will look to keep their offense going when they begin a series with the Los Angeles Angels tonight.
He gets to this one. It's driven to deep left field, and it's off the wall on a bounce. Here comes Sanchez. Here comes Eloy Jimenez.
The Jays offense exploded for 8 runs in the first inning in their series finale against the Arizona Diamondbacks yesterday afternoon. They went on to win the game 10-4. First pitch for tonight's game against the Angels is set for just after 9:30 in Los Angeles.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, new research suggests you shouldn't be taking gambling advice from artificial intelligence. We'll have those details when we return. Well, amid the playoffs, many people will be looking to make a few bucks betting on games. So you might be wondering whether AI can help you beat the odds.
We put that question to our science and technology specialist, Dan Riskin, and he's here to tell us the news. So, Dan, what is the verdict?
The verdict is do not. It is a bad idea to let AI gamble with your money. And this comes from a study where somebody didn't give real money to AI to gamble, but did try virtual money. What they did is they took a single season of Premier League soccer, and they fed the model sort of the outcome every day of what had happened so far in the season and ask the model to come up with bets for the next day. And by doing this, they could go through a full season of 120 game days, and starting with £100,000 UK, see how much money they have at the end of it. And of the 8 models, on average, every single one of them lost overall. There was one model came up, was 33% up in one of the runs, but in another run, it lost all of its money. And so of the 8 models, only 2 of them managed to not lose all their money all the time. And so Claude Opus was the overall winner. If you want to gamble with AI and you want to lose as little as possible, according to this study, Claude is the best one to use. It came out 11% behind, but a lot of them, I mean, Grok lost all the money every single time it ran. And so it's really not advisable. And they think that part of the reason is that these models make those kinds of dumb mistakes that we've seen them make when we're asking it to do things for us. You know, a simple mistake like putting a sentence together or a logical error, sometimes it would have a great idea for how it's going to proceed on paper, and then it would just make dumb bets. And so they think if the models got smarter, maybe they would have an edge, but I'm not so sure that the bookies wouldn't just take that into account and set the odds accordingly.
I don't know. That's so satisfying hearing that, Dan.
Yeah.
Your next study is about a treatment for kids who have persistent nightmares. I had persistent nightmares, so I'm so curious, what's the approach, and is it effective?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your experience was, but it can be really tough on a lot of kids, especially where the nightmares they show up all the time. And so this is a study where they didn't do this treatment on a lot of kids to see how many it worked for. What they did is a case study where they picked one kid with severe nightmares. This kid was 15 years old. And was having an average of 4 to 7 nightmares per week. And it makes you so sad when you think about it. And the approach with this treatment isn't just to think of the nightmares as a thing that have to be overcome, but to think of the nightmares themselves as a thing that is learned by the brain and to unlearn it by building self-confidence for the kids. So it's not just therapy around the dream and what they experience when they're going to bed, but also what they're doing during the day and what their bedtime routine is. And there are 7 different aspects of their lifestyle that all get put into this together. But for this one child that was the case study with the one person they've tried it on, it was 100% effective. By the end of 2 months, this child went from having between 4 and 7 nightmares a week to having 0 nightmares per week. And the nightmares that child was having as it ramped down were less and less severe. So really a lot of hope here for kids that are struggling.
Yeah, very encouraging. Finally, Dan, U of T Scarborough researchers are reporting that if we want to be productive, to check things off the to-do list, it helps to be sharp. Now, what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, you would think that it's true that people who are smarter tend to get things done more effectively than people who are less smart, but that's not actually true at all. What is true is that each person has smart days and dumb days. I mean, I do, that's for sure. And we tend to get more done on our smart days. And so the way they found this is the researchers had undergrads start the day by filling out a little puzzle that requires some intelligence to solve. It's, like a crossword, that kind of a thing. And then they asked this person, what are your goals for today? And here's a list of the goals you told me you had yesterday. How many of those did you get done? And by tracking those kids over a long period of time, or those young adults over a long period of time, they were able to find this really clear connection between how bright the person was, how well they did on that cognitive test first thing in the morning, and how much they got done later in the day. So the life hack here is, if you want to get more done, focus on doing things that help your brain be bright. And so getting enough sleep is a really good predictor of how bright you're going to feel. If you're wanting to get something done at some point during the day, do it in the morning, because we tend to be cognitively smarter in the morning than we are later in the day as we start to fatigue. And then the other thing is that if you are really trying to get it done and you work long hours, this shows that actually can be quite productive for a day. But if you start doing it over multiple days, it really flatlines out and you really start to become less bright than you were otherwise. And so you can have a workaholic one day, but don't make a whole week of it, and certainly don't make it your plan for getting things done in the future. So some useful news you can use.
Great advice as we embark on an all-new week. CTV science and tech expert Dan Riskin, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Take care. Still to come on CTV News at noon. Canada Post workers start voting today on a 5-year contract. We'll have the latest on the labor unrest when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Canada Post workers start voting today on a 5-year contract. The 55,000 employees represented by the Canadian Union of Postal Workers can vote until May 30th on whether to ratify an agreement with the Crown Corporation. Canada Post and the union have been battling over wages and structural changes to the Postal Service for more than 2 years, with workers hitting the picket lines multiple times. Both sides have agreed not to engage in any strike or lockout activity while the ratification vote happens.
A weather delay at a baseball game is pretty common, but check out what happened Saturday at a game in Wake Forest, North Carolina. In the top of the first inning, a dust devil suddenly appeared, spinning its way across the field, forcing the players, their coaches, and the ump to seek shelter and stirring up a lot of sand. This phenomenon is actually not too common in the area, but there is a drought right now, and hot air near the surface can rise, resulting in an updraft. They can create wind gusts up to 80 kilometers per hour. This one continued into another baseball diamond. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but some tents were knocked over.
Coming up, giving every employee a chance. We'll have more on a Montreal business which focuses on giving jobs to people with autism or living with a disability.
Now, Montreal businesses found success employing people with disabilities as well as those who have autism or are neurodivergent.
It's a model they've used for 50 years and is helping many of their employees thrive. CTV's Lauren Fernandez has the story.
I always shake them a little to make sure that the seal is done properly.
Tommy Edinger is all about quality control. He's autistic and has been working at packaging facility Atelier Gem since 2021.
The longest job that I've had is here at Gem, and I didn't start with this position, but I worked my way up.
This isn't his first job, but it's the only workplace he's found that he says sees his strengths.
They don't thrust you into something that might be intimidating. They check up and make sure that you're able to coexist as a unit or as an individual.
Gem has been an adapted workplace for almost 50 years. Executive Director Maya Cooper says everyone here has something unique to offer.
It's really important for us to focus on abilities as opposed to disabilities. And though somebody who may be seen as having autism may be stigmatized or looked down upon in society and in the world around us, when they walk through the door here, the first thing we do is get to know them so we can understand what are they particularly good at.
A study by Deloitte found that 33% of neurodiverse people in Canada are employed, and Cooper says adapted workplaces help, and there should be more of them.
We are investing into a society where now all of us, all of our employees, regardless of what they present with, are earning, paying taxes, taking their hard-earned money and spending it on things that feed the economy and stimulate the economy, and everybody feels better about themselves.
And that includes Tommy.
You want to be able to have that freedom to feel like your voice is heard, and that's the most important thing about an adapted workplace.
It's an environment making an impact on everyone.
It makes me emotional. Like it's such a gift.
Working here at Gem has definitely gave me a new layer of confidence.
Confidence to take on the world, no matter what your ability. Lauren Fernandez, CTV News.
Let's head back down to Jurassic Park. Game 2 tonight. It's out of town, but there'll be fans there, and let's hope the Raps can catch up there, Lindsay.
Yeah, we're crossing our fingers, Michelle and Nathan. It is going to be busy down here tonight. There's actually a concert happening at Scotiabank Arena. Demi Lovato, in case you were curious. And as Raheem mentioned a little bit earlier in the newscast, too, it's a little bit different this year as far as getting access to Jurassic Park. So you need your Raptors app. You need to enter a lottery for tickets. And in just a few minutes, anyone who entered that lottery is going to find out whether or not they have a free ticket to come on down and enjoy the game. But if you are coming on down, yes, it is cold. not saying it's just going to be young people down here, but sometimes young people need that little extra reminder that a winter jacket is probably a good idea. Let's take one more look at our weather conditions as we make our way through the next little bit here. We've still got some flurries impacting some areas to our west and to our southwest. Nice mix of sun and cloud here in the GTA. Here's tomorrow. Improvements weather-wise, about 9 degrees for a high, still below seasonal. We will be much closer to seasonal by the time we reach Wednesday and Thursday. In fact, the rest of the week is looking pretty nice. Let's take a look at your 7-day forecast. Overall conditions are much drier this week too. So yes, we just have to get through a cold day today and a chilly Jurassic Park experience tonight for those enjoying the game on the big screen outside Scotiabank Arena here tonight. Let's go, Raptors. I'm going to send it back inside to you, Nathan and Michelle. We'll talk to you soon.
I'm sure a wind would keep them nice and warm. All right. Thank you, Lindsay.
Yes.
And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.